Hmm. Hmm. Training data is will come from the same data, but it needs to be split in some or the other form. So that will be going to talk about how to split and what to do that with that. Now coming on to the part of data engineering as of now, what I want to talk about is this module 5, introduction to statistics and probability for today, and then we'll be going to talk about what are the different data tendencies and data properties. Basics of statistics discussion will be going to take for half an hour or so. Can any one of you wants to volunteer for a bit of question and answer? Come on, that's the fifth class with machine learning. You should be having enough of guts to answer some basic questions. Nitika, can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. So the question to you as of now is that what is the purpose of this data in machine learning? What does data mean in machine learning? Entire of the machine learning is built over sklearn, linear regression, logistic regression, and all of that. Then what is the sense of data in machine learning?
Uh, for predicting the value,
For creating the value? Not exactly.
predicting or prediction for prediction.
For prediction, there are enough of machine learning models, those who are making prediction. So what will data do?
Data will combine with the algorithm and do the training part, na? And after that, prediction can be prediction is possible.
Somewhat true, right? Jaren, can you please go and unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what according to you, data, how much does data matters in machine learning?
Actually on which we train a model and we make some things over it and gain uh, we take some thing from it and have some training over it. Yeah.
Mhm. So like yeah, again, some of the resembling answers as Ritika. Thank you. Now let I'll just come to this part that what is the meaning of data? What does data mean to machine learning? What is the meaning of data that you already know about? That fifth class definition, raw facts and figures. That's entirely true in this scale as well. So whatever you're talking about, whether you're talking about Excel or database or SQL or so, or you're talking about machine learning, data means data, nothing such. So data is just units of information, or simply some words, some numbers placed into a format that is known as data. What does it mean in case of machine learning? What is its importance? So entire of our machine learning model is built and relying over and over data only. If our data is saying that just suppose we have a folder of 100 images of a lion and the name of the folder is rabbit. Okay, so our machine learning model will not at all be getting to know about that this is a lion. If we train it on that particular architecture, it will be training these entire 100 images on the label of rabbit, and if those images are of lion and would be written as lion, then it will be training it as a lion itself. So entire of the data is this thing which our model would be relying. Okay, so no human intervention, nothing. Human would be, or programmers would be simply writing the programs which will be absorbing nothing different than data. So our model would be absorbing data. So data should be very precisely taken. So not just algorithm. If you'll keep on continuing keep on tuning the algorithm in order to increase the performance, and your performance is not increasing, then that simply means that there is something wrong in your data as well. So both the things should be optimized, data as well as algorithm. So we will be talking about bit of data science as well today into this particular module number 5, and not in much depth because that is not required on the applied side part. If you'll be going for data science course, that complete course is about these things and many more. So why does data matter? Because that is the thing which is differentiating between a 5 years old kid and you and a 50-year-old person. The data is the stuff. So you're training your entire stuff is built over data only. Can you please repeat what does data mean? Yeah, so data is the key factor when it comes to anything onto which entire machine learning model, its performance, its accuracy, its loss, and all the other parameters would depend. So not just tuning of algorithms is required, but the tuning of data is equivalently required. Okay. And moreover, your algorithm is only and only about this algorithm, if it is classification, then this algorithm. No, it is quite a lot dependent over your data type of the data. The type of the data we'll be going to talk about that you can see in third point, nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. So entire of your machine learning architecture, whether you're writing code or the code for performance and of the entire layer on the data. So if you think like you have designed one architecture of machine learning and you can just test it and implement that with 95% of accuracy in all the data sets, no, it is not possible. So not just changing the roadwork, you need to do itself, which we'll be going to talk about in basics as of now. Then why particular does data matters? So data should why does data integrity? They should only on the basis of that our model will be going to learn. If you will give the image of lion with the name of rabbit, the model will never get to know that there is something like lion even exists in the entire world. So just getting is that this sort of animal, this animal is even know that rabbit and lion are completely two different things. We take for example as well. Particularly about me, not an hypothetical example, not about any computer or so about me. That I was making a mistake a lot of time. How many of you know about time? Just give me a message. How many of you know about tuxedo? What is tuxedo? As far as I am when I'm right when I'm spelling this TU, I guess, not sure even. Anyone of you heard this word or what it is actually? This is not clear. Now it is not clear. Is it clear with us? Okay, wait. Is it clear now? Anyhow better? Just give me this moment's confirmation. Is it better or not? Otherwise, I'll do something on my end. Is it better? Okay, so should I move on? Wait, yeah, I'll just permanently cure it up. I'll change my place and do something. Wait, just give me 2 minutes. So I hope it is perfectly better now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's great. Finally, we are on good connectivity. Well, coming on to what we were talking about, I'll just share my screen. We'll put the text on. Yeah, sorry for the bad experience with this. Let's stick on to module number 5 from the starting. So we talked about what is the sense of data into machine learning. That's what I was talking about. And what do we came up with is that entire of the performance of our model, entire of the architecture of our model, what algorithm to use, which one not to use, that then what particularly would be the configuration of that model. This whole thing is strictly depending on our data, right? And data matters a lot when you are designing a model, when you are comparing a model, when you are making a prediction, when you are making a performance, and all of that part. So data is something really important to talk about. Now let's talk about what are the different types of data as mentioned here: nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. So let's give the name right here firstly. So we will be going to talk about nominal, ordinal. Well, I don't even need to write because there is nothing to write about these things as of now. Ordinal and ratio. So nominal is that data which is basically different classes which has nothing to do with each other. Any example of this? So basically 5 different classes or 7 different classes which has nothing to do with each other are known as nominal data group. So what could be the example of nominal data group according to you? Or the first one, I'll give the example. So suppose like a dog, cat, elephant, rabbit, all of these are not at all dependent. Or if we are suppose making an object classifier, so into object classifier there are 100 different objects. Suppose there is a fan, there is a wheelchair, there is a desktop, there is something else, then there is something else, then there is something else, which has nothing to do with each other. So these are different classes. So the data is not of regression module, the data is of classification module. Now that particular data type is known as nominal data type. Is it clear what is nominal data type? Is it clear to all of you? Any no, any yes? I want, okay. So nominal is something when you have different classes, your data is distributed amongst different classes, and those classes has nothing to do with each other. Like one class has nothing to do with each other, it is altogether a different thing than other one. Then the third class is altogether different than the second one and first one. Suppose I give you the example of animal, like from the image you need to predict the object name or animal name or plant name or whatever. So there is one object like fan, there is one object like computers, the third image is of an elephant, the fourth image is of a plant, the fifth image is of moon or anything like that. So these are different objects which has actually nothing to do with each other, and these are just nominal group of data. The second thing is ordinal. So basically let me just clear you that why do we need to study all of this is not because we need to implement it anyhow in our code. No. But rest of the code is basically dependent on these things. That's why we need to be very clear onto this. And how do we get to know about our data type, which data type it is? There is no statistical method. We need to check it manually only. Then only it will work. Ordinal is a kind of data type which has different classes, but those classes are in an order of increasing or decreasing. Just think of it what it could be, that we have different classes, okay, but these classes are in an order that this class is superior than this class or inferior than this class or so. Think of it what it could be. Any idea? Okay. How many of you have heard of the AC stars? 5-star AC, 4-star AC, 3-star AC. Age somehow, yes, exactly. But it is like if we'll talk about a human age, so it is more of a continuous value. not a classification. Nominal and ordinal are more of classification part. I'll give you more precise example. Then let's talk about the fridge and AC rating, fridge or AC rating. So there are 5-star ACs, 4-star ACs, 3-star ACs, 2-star ACs, and 1-star AC, which are all different classes. But there is a relation of or there is an order amongst them, that 5-star is superior than 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. 4 is superior than 3 and 2 and 1, and 3 is superior than 2 and 1, and also 1 that. Similarly, we have the classes of hotel: 5-star hotel, 4-star hotel, 3-star hotel. Then we have classes like kids, adults, and aged people, and something like this. So these all things are falling under ordinal data type. The ranking, that suppose if you're talking about class, in a class, so these are the first group of students, these are the second group of students, and these are the third group of students. Or simply if I talk about cricket team, so India A, India B, India C are three cricket team of Indian national team, which are supposed to play against different countries. But the thing is, they are of different orders. That this is the most superior most team, the cream of the players, India A. Then we have India B. Then we have India C, or something like this. Okay. So that is what ordinal data type look like. Another thing is interval. So interval is that data type which is of a continuous figure like age, into which 0 has a specific value. 0 has a specific value. What do I mean by this? So interval is something when we will be basically talking about that length of kind of any object. So any object's length can be 0.00001 or like that minimum value, then plus something or above that. The length can never be 0. Similarly, the age can never be 0. It can be 0.001 year, but it can never be 0. Okay, so age of a person, length of a person, height of a person, it can never be 0 at all. Thickness of anything is not at all 0. Whereas ratio is the data type which is again continuous, but that doesn't have any significant meaning of 0. 0 is just in between -1 and 1 for ratio. Can you give me any example of what is a ratio data type? Can anyone of you give me an example what is the ratio data type? Definition of ratio. Ratio is that continuous data type into which 0 is not at all a special number. 0 is just something between -1 and 1. Whereas into interval, there was a kind of special significance of 0. Height or weight fall under interval. So height or weight have specific meaning for 0. Like height cannot be 0, weight cannot be 0. 0 is special for height and weight. I'll give you more precise example like temperature. So if you are talking about -1 degree, that is just nothing but a bit less than 0 degree. What is 0 degree? A bit more than -1 and a bit less than 1. And what is 1 degree? A bit more than 0 degree, a bit less than 2 degrees. So 0 is just a normal number for temperature. You agree to me on this? Whereas if we talk about, so this was temperature in degree Celsius. Whereas if we talk about height and weight, so height and weight doesn't have 0 as a common number. Your height is 1 meter, that is acceptable. Your height is 0 meter, that is not at all acceptable. You should be having 0.03 meters, 0.04 meters, something like that. Like of any, even an infant baby would be having height of some inches or so, if not even a feet. If height is 0, that means the object doesn't exist. Like this particular part is clear to you, that what does it mean like?
So why is the last data type assigned the name ratio?
I am not getting your voice clearly. Can you please repeat?
So where is the ratio coming from? The ratio word. I don't really see any ratio in the data type.
Okay, see, what does these data type, this is not a data type as such like int, float, char or so. These are the kind of distribution of data or the understanding of data. The nominal and ordinal are more on the classes, wherein nominal are those classes which has nothing to do with each other. Ordinal are those classes which are relatable to each other, kind of in an hierarchy also. Interval is that into which the zero has some specific meaning. Okay, and ratio is that data distribution into which zero has no specific meaning, just like temperature. So in temperature, the today's temperature might be some 45 degree, 46 degree. In winters it will go to 5 degree or 4 degree. Then in more winter season, in more cold, it will go to 2 degree, then 1 degree, then 0 degree, and then -1. Nothing so special, just temperature is decreasing 1 unit. Whereas in the case of interval, if your data decreased from 500 to 1, that is okay, but your data should not decrease from 1 to 0. That is not okay. That is something special. That is what the difference between interval and ratio is. I hope it is clear to you, Remjim, and Nitika as well. Okay, still not clear. Let's take some examples. Nominal and ordinal is clear. To all of you, anyone having anyone having doubt into nominal and ordinal? Let's firstly clarify that. Those are classification data sets. Okay, so no doubt into nominal and ordinal. So let's move on to interval and ratio. So interval is that data type, I'll go for some example, into which zero has a specific meaning. Are you guys aware of Kelvin scale of temperature? I hope all of you are aware of Kelvin, that 10 degrees Celsius means 283 Kelvin. Okay, so anything with any like Kelvin value is just nothing but add on of 273, if I'm not wrong, onto degree Celsius. If you want to change it, you can, because I'm not very much sure about it. I can just search on Google. What is this spelling? Okay, 283.15. So that means we need to basically add 273.15. If I'll go for 100, 373.15. 0 is 270. Okay, so we need to add 273.15. That is a Kelvin point. Now, there is a theory that 0 Kelvin temperature, that means minus 273.15 degree temperature, does not exist. Let's search for that. Okay, so this 0 Kelvin temperature, the object does not exist into this particular point is known as absolute zero. So this is the lowest limit of thermodynamic temperature scale, a state with which the enthalpy and entropy of a cooled, I don't know what this all chemistry is all about, but this is something special. So temperature in Kelvin will fall under this part, whereas temperature in degree Celsius will fall under this part. That means 0 degree is nothing different than -1 degree and 1 degree. So just a bit of -1 degree and 1 degree. Whereas 0 Kelvin is altogether a different phenomena. Okay, so 1 Kelvin and 0 Kelvin, they are altogether a very different phenomena. So 0 Kelvin, the object will basically vanish as far as the chemistry says. Okay, and this is a kind of theoretical temperature. No one have achieved it as of now. I guess I don't know about chemistry much. So ratio is that data type into which 0 has no significant meaning. Just like, what is your saving? Your saving could be 10,000, 9,000, 8,000, 5,000, 4,000, 2,000, or 0. That is clearly okay. Or even minus 10,000, because if you are in a debt of some loan or so. Okay, so your saving are actually minus 10,000 because you do not have any saving, but you either need to, even you need to give 10,000 rupee to someone. So your savings are minus 10,000. Whereas what is interval? So your interval would be your monthly salary. So your monthly salary could be 1,000 rupee, could be 900, could be 800, 700. It can altogether be 10 rupee or 9 rupee or 8 rupee or 7 rupee, but it can never be 0. So if your monthly salary is 0, it can never be a salary. Now you understand that when 0 is something special, then it is interval. When 0 is not at all special, then it is ratio. Clear enough? What about others? I need the answers from all of you now because there was a lot of confusion. So let's clarify that everyone is clear into this. There are 5 people in the class. I want the answers from all of you. Where we can use, so you need not to use them. Basically the data will be there available to you. You just need to understand that what particular this data type look like, which particular type of data it is. It will be required for your further processing and understanding of machine learning. Fine. So we have all the confirmations. So we talked about what is the data, what does data mean, what is the reason of understanding data in the case of machine learning, and what are the different type of data. Now let's talk about some of the properties related to data. So one of the properties, central tendency. Central tendency have few things into it. Central tendency means, so wait. So central tendency means, so suppose this is our data set look like. There are two kind of there are two kind of properties. One type of property is known as central tendencies. One type of property is known as dispersion and variabilities. So variability will talk about the concept like how far the data is distributed. Okay, in terms of height, in terms of width, what is the standard deviation, what are the variance, and central tendencies will be talking about how close the data is, what is the centralmost part, what is mean, what is median. So in two central tendencies, one thing is known as mean. I hope you are all clear of that. One is mode. It is difficult to write. I will not be writing here. So one is mode, one is median. So mean is the average of all the numbers. Mode is the most occurring number, the maximum occurring number into this. So suppose let's take an example. All of you, I'll just write the name for all of you in some ascending order as per your name. So we have Amar Riaz with A alphabet. Ashish is second, I guess. Yeah. So firstly we have Amar, then we have Ashish, then we have Jaren, then Nitika and Ramjan. Yeah, so I'm in ascending order as far as this ABCD is concerned. Now you need to give me your age. What is your age, Amar? Just make it fast. All of you please write your age right here. Amar is 22, Jaren is 21, Ramjim is 19, Nitika is 22, Ashish 20. Okay. So I got all the ages. Now what is the mean of all of them? 20 plus 22 plus 21 plus 22 plus 19 divided by 5. Whatever the value would be, it will be somewhere close to 21 or 21.5 or something like that. That will be the mean. What is the median of that? Median is the value in the very center when sorted in ascending order, not like this. So let's sort these values. I hope you can see my screen, this message tab. So when I'll be sorting this entire stuff, so it will be like 20, 21, 22, 22. Okay, sorry, we have 19 in the starting. So the median is this 21. This 21. When sorted in ascending order, this is known as the median. And the mode is the most occurring value, which is 22. So these are the few things which we need to basically talk about when we are talking about central tendencies. Mean is sum of all divided by count of all. Median is the central most occurring value when sorted in ascending or descending order. They'll mean the same, like ascending or descending, that will be same. The median value will be same. And specifically it will be basically with ascending order. And the mode is the most occurring value, which is 22 in this case. That is what the entire central tendency talk about. So we talk about mean, median, mode, and I gave you an idea that what all these things are. So particularly we'll be going to use mean a lot. Then if the requirement would be there, we'll be going to use median or mode as well, depending on what sort of requirement it is. Then another thing is about variability or dispersion tendencies. So there is one thing like range. So range of this is the maximum, which is 22, minus the minimum, which is 19. Okay, so or not this, but it will be looking like something like 19 to 22. This is the range. Whereas the variance is 22 minus 19. Standard deviation has a different formula of under root of variance or so, something like that. So range, variance, and standard deviation basically talk about the dispersion tendencies of this entire data, basically with the spread, and central tendencies talk about the conjunction of them. Then there is something like skewness. So skewness would be like, suppose I plot my data on a graph and the data got plotted something like, I'll show you, something like this. So my data has a lot of skewness into this part. That means this particular stuff is very much high. Let's take a meaningful data. I have on my y-axis a particular value and on the x-axis. So this is salary and this is count. So particularly for India. So major of the population in India for working professionals. Okay, this graph is for working professional only. Their salary goes from 10,000 to 40,000. This is the major of the population. That includes labor and freshers. So 10,000 to 40,000. So below that there are few people. Okay, like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 monthly salary type of person. Then there are 10,000 to 40,000. That's a big scale. And then there are very few people who are actually millionaires and billionaires, or who earn 1 million or 10 million or 100 million in a month or so. So our basic skewness, right, like here, this is our skewed part. Okay, so this range is basically from 10,000 to 40,000. The skewness means saturated, not saturated. Skewness means the shift. If I'll talk about the terrorist and not a terrorist, so what is the population of India? That's 135 crore. How many terrorists would be there in India? Not more than 1 lakh. Now what does the percentage look like? So 1 lakh over 135 crore would be, so this many lakh, this much of percentage only are there terrorists. Even if there would be 2 lakh terrorists, so it will be just multiplied with 2. That doesn't make any sense. Even at max there would be 1 crore terrorists, that even not 1% of entire population. So our data is skewed a lot, or this is also known as unbalanced data set. So this is something which will impact a lot when we will be going to choose about our training evaluation, the training split and testing split and evaluation parameters and all of that. That will be going to matter a lot. If I talk about credit card fraud and not fraud transactions, so if there are 100 transactions going on in a day, then only one of them or two of them would be fraud. Rest of them would be non-fraud. Okay, if I'm going to talk about something like, suppose persons with disability. So how many people with disability are there in India? We can check the count exactly right here. There are approximately 21 million people as far as 2001 was considered. Okay, so 21 million people out of, so 21 million means 2 crore. So 2 crore out of 135 crore, that is just like 1.5% or so. So 1.5% are disabled people, rest of the 98.5% people are perfectly healthy. So that basically means the skewness of the data that you will encounter a lot when you will be going to predict something. You will be encountering a lot. So now if you will give 98.5% of data as non-disabled, and 1.5% of data as disable, then your model will be overfitted. Then your model will basically be overfitted over the saturated most region or the overcrowded most region. I'll take an example. I want answer from all of you on the text. So I'll write something like, let's see something if I'll get some output here. Okay, so this is on 24th October 2020, India versus South Africa. Okay, so now I need answers from all of you that who will win, that what is the result of this particular match. What will be the result of this particular match, India or South Africa, or whatever, like what will be the result according to you? Please do not say don't know, obviously none of us know clearly, but what do you think? What will be the result of this India versus South Africa match? What is this, Ashish? I guess something sent by mistake. Yeah, so I need the answers from all of you on text, that what is the result, what could be the result of India versus South Africa match according to you. We are not discussing your cricket sense actually as of now. We are not discussing that. We are just discussing that what could be according to you the answer is. Okay, fine, no problem, Ashish. And make it fast, just one word answer, that is. Make it fast so that we can move on. So one side India, one side South Africa. What about others? And we are not discussing your cricket sense or cricket prediction. Just take a random guess. You know what is Indian cricket team, and you know what is South African cricket team, and you know what is cricket. Simple enough. That is all required as of now. You are not going to be a commentator also. So we got 2 for India, sorry, 3 for India, 1 for South Africa. Nitika also go for India. Okay. Now this match could also be tie. This could result in a tie, right? Possible enough. Now if it will result in tie, why none of you had given the option of tie? The reason is you have only seen, I guess, 1% or less number of matches which has the result of that match was tie or abandoned due to rain or so. Like out of every 100 match, only 1 or 2 matches would go vanished with rain. This match can also be the one, but our mind is specifically trained to predict something like this. Even till the last ball remaining of the entire match, we always predict about that, okay, this team will win and this team will lose. We never say that, okay, in the next ball the rain will come and the match will be abandoned. No, we don't go for that, because that is very less likely. So this is something we don't want from our model. If we are wanting our model to predict the terrorist, so if it is predicting a terrorist to be a non-terrorist, then that person would escape away and that will cause a lot of trouble. Whereas if a non-terrorist person is considered as terrorist, then that person might face trouble, but the entire organization would not face much of trouble. So that will be basically playing a lot of role when we'll be going to talk about this entire stuff, the skewness part. So there is something like kurtosis. I want to show you that on Google itself. So kurtosis is a graph of skewness. Whenever your data would be skewed, it will keep on going towards up, just like this red line. When your data would be right skewed, on the other part will go down. I'll just show you something like this. So this is your normal data, this is your positively skewed data, negatively skewed data. So your kurtosis would be something like this: green for the higher positively skewed data, red for the negatively skewed data, and blue for the normal data set. So the name of those kurtoses are leptokurtic and platykurtic. You need not to remember all of that, just chill as of now. Just understand what those things are. There are enough of libraries to plot the kurtosis graph. Just need to remember that what those graph means, what does kurtosis means, so that whenever you will be having any problem, you can go to Google and search for and the word itself, leptokurtic, platykurtic, you might forget. So you can search it on Google later on whenever required. So kurtosis is basically a graph representation of the skewness. So normal, positive skewed, negative skewed would be represented by kurtosis itself as well. Now another thing is correlation. So correlation means how far is your data connected to your label. Let's take one more exercise. You need to, I will give you, suppose, okay, I'll give you the birth, like which person of you have a birth year of 2000? Just say me a yes right now. I hope you will not mind if I'll talk about age and birth year also. So any one of you have a birth year of 2000? 1999? Any one of you? Yes, you have the birth year of 1999. So now, if your birth year is 1999, then I can closely guess your age, right? So how is your birth year and age correlated? With 100% correlation. And how is your birth year and mobile number correlated? Actually not. Just look at this scenario. I want to show you the Delhi metro map. Simple stuff. Nowadays Delhi metro is so much expanded, but the primarily most lines, even till now the longest lines, are yellow, blue and red. These are the three most important lines. Those who know Delhi, they know it very clearly. Now you can see the first line developed was red and the second line developed was yellow. You can see that they are perpendicular, almost perpendicular to each other. I hope this particular picture is visible to you. So this yellow line and this red line are almost like in the direction of being perpendicular to each other. What does this mean? That if someone wants to go from this point to this point, they can follow green line, but even if there is no green line into this, that person can struggle a bit and can follow red line, or can struggle a bit and can follow blue line. So green line is not that most important line. So out of all of them, the most important line turn out to be yellow, because there is no such alternative of yellow line. All the other metro lines are basically from left to right, whereas this line connects from top to bottom if we ignore this violet color. Okay, so this basically means that firstly this line was drawn, so this is correlation, that this blue line is highly correlated to this red line. This green line is highly correlated to this red and blue line. This yellow line is not at all correlated, or just slightly correlated, because of not being completely perpendicular. It is slightly correlated to red and blue and rest of the lines, but it is not much correlated, right? And if I'll talk about this orange line right here, you can see the short one. This is highly correlated to this blue line. The direction is almost same. This direction and this direction, they are like next to parallel lines, just a bit of change in angle. If we'll talk about this particular red line and this particular blue line, they are not exactly 100% correlated, but they are almost correlated. They are going into same direction. So correlation is very much important when we will be going to talk about the label and features. So our feature should be highly correlated with our label, but one of the features should not be correlated 100% to other feature. That is what required when we will be going to talk about it. And what is the meaning of correlation? That when you change your one feature, the label should be changed, but when you change your one feature, the other feature should not be identically changed. Like if I'll say you your country code, okay, so let's take, we have mobile number and we have country code. Now if you have mobile number, do you even need the country code? Every mobile number starting with 91 is for India. Every mobile number starting with 0001 or 317 is from US and Canada subcontinent. Every mobile number starting from 61 is from Australia. Every mobile number starting from 92 is from Pakistan. We know that. So whenever a mobile number would be changed for a country, the country code will also be changed. So we don't need country code as an external parameter. Whereas the mobile number should be directly proportional to what we are, or inversely proportional to what we are trying to predict. The label should be dependent on the mobile number, right? So this is what we basically need from the correlation part. Now let's move on to module number 6 of our practical implementation. Enough of data science and mathematics and all we discussed about. As I'll come to skewness again. Our next task basically is to talk about the practical implementation and logistic regression, and again we are back to our algorithmic part. So coming back to skewness, so skewness basically shows that how much is our data, that what sort of data distribution is there. I'll just take an example that, again the same thing. This is what my salary is and this is what my count is, count of people. So for salary this is 5,000. Okay, suppose it is 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, all the way to 40,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, and suppose this is 1 crore. So how many people would be there which will be earning 1 crore in a month? Like some 100 or so in India. That is the point. How many people would be earning 5,000? A bit more. Obviously not 100 or so, a bit more. How many people would be earning 10,000? Very high. 20,000, almost same stuff. And then your graph start decreasing from here. So your graph is basically something like this. So your data is skewed toward this particular negatively side. The normal data set would look something like this. Wait. This is normal data, this is positively skewed data, this is negatively skewed data. So our data is skewed towards negative. Okay, and if I draw the same thing for money, the savings of the people, these people, this is the saving and this is the count. So many of the people have the saving in this region, like all of us even would be having the saving somewhat like 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakh, not like 10 crore or so, I guess. So all of us are on this particular scale, and there are many people like us, but there are few people who have the saving of 20 crore, 30 crore, 40 crore, 100 crores or so. So the graph again looks like this. If I'll talk about monthly expenses, so our monthly expenses goes to like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, and there are people like those whose monthly expenses goes all the way to like 1 crore or 2 crore or so as well. So that graph is rightly skewed. So that is what skewness means simply. I guess it is clear, Riaz? Yeah. So now let's talk about what is logistic regression. So till now we were talking about regression module. Logistic regression is a classification module. Its name is regression, but it is a classification module. I will be going to talk about why it is named as regression as well. But as of now, let's see what does a logistic regression means. So a logistic regression would be nothing but the classification of different classes. So different classes, like we have dog and cat. What is the detective Conan? Okay, so all the headings mentioned here, right here, have nothing to do with this technical part. They are like a kind of theme, you can say. So detective Conan, if you search to Google, it will look something like relatable to this. This is a kind of mystery. So all the headings are not technical topics. All the headings are basically have some theme connected to it. So picking up the pace has not a technical slang or so. It has something to do with this. So because this was the first paceful algorithm, the first evaluation and all we discussed about it. Then this has the getting started with machine learning heading. This has the types. Types is normal word. So detective Conan is not a technical word. I would hope that you will search it on Google and you will get why it is mentioned onto this particular chapter head. So all the chapter heads are just the mysterious, have mysterious headings. Nothing to do with technical stuff, but they are relatable to what the chapter contains. Now coming on to this logistic regression part. So let's first discuss what is classification. So classification is that I have a graph onto which there is one class of triangles, or simply I'll draw it with blue. So there is one group of people or group of objects or whatever, then there is another class with reddish color. Sorry. And if you want to make a model which would be able to separate these two blocks, what you are actually supposed to do is you need to make a separation plane like this. So anything below this is blue, anything red after this is red. Entire of the classification of machine learning is dependent on this only. Okay, but the change in algorithms are that how this particular line got implemented. So we'll be going to talk about logistic regression. I hope it is clear that what is classification for in case of machine learning. I hope it is clear to you. Or is there any kind of doubt going on? Anyone having any doubt for this? Fine. So we know what is classification. Now let's talk about what is so special about logistic regression. So there are different algorithms for classification actually. So logistic regression, how would it get implemented? See, this is one of the line. What logistic regression will do if we have a lot of data and we can plot a best fit line amongst that data. So logistic regression is nothing. This is suppose our y line, y model. I'll denote the model into this manner with a cap over y. So logistic regression is nothing but sigmoid of y cap. What is sigmoid? Sigmoid is a function which has a formula of 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus x. This is the formula of sigmoid x. So sigmoid of y model is 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus y model. So what is our model? It basically mx plus b right here. So minus mx plus b. This is what sigmoid is, and at the end it will return us either 0 or 1. Okay, so it will be returning us 0 or 1. That is what logistic regression will do. Now what is sigmoid? Sigmoid is a curve. Sigmoid is an equation 1 upon 1 plus e minus x, which basically gives us either 0 or 1 as the output, and it looks like this on the graph. It is very much popular for the deep learning people. Into deep learning it is very much used. But okay, what is the meaning of logistic regression? So regression is the word which come from linear regression, because this logistic is the another name for sigmoid. So sigmoid is also known as logistic, and regression is the same thing, because we have implemented logistic over linear regression output. So we call it logistic regression, and the name of algorithm is logistic regression. Now let's talk about what is the code level implementation of this thing. Again, I'll be heading on to my desktop, making a file right here, logistic regression.py. Let's see how does a machine learning model looks like. Our machine learning model looks like. Let's open it in VS Code. Right. So we need to, for linear regression, we need to say from sklearn dot linear model import linear regression. Then we need to say we need to build our x. Okay, let's build x and y before. Right here we need to say model is equals to linear regression model dot fit x comma y, and that is it in order to get it trained. Now we need to have some x and y. Let's say I would take some salaries. So salary is 20, salary is 50,000 per month. Okay, 100,000, that means 1 lakh, 10,000, 30,000, 47,000. And I described that 20,000 is 0, 50,000 is 1, 1 lakh is 1, 10,000 is 0, 30,000 is 0, 47,000 is 1. So basically I have differentiated the people amongst low class and intermediate class. So anyone below like 30 or 30,000 or below salary is 0. Yes, we will be doing logistic regression, but as of now, let's take it in the case of linear regression. So how does our linear regression model will be activated? Now, if I'll go for predicting, I want to get a transition from linear to logistic. If I'll predict for 45,000 or suppose 90,000, so the value come out will be 0.9 or so. It will never be 0 or 1. Okay, so it will come out to be 0.9 or so, let's say. It came out to be 1.13. That's clearly acceptable. Fine. It came out to be 1.1334095. So, but because this entire stuff didn't understand that this is actually a classification part. So, if you want to work on classification, we just need to change the model. Just call the same model right here. sklearn linear model import logistic regression model is equals to logistic regression. Now let's print for 90. It will give us 1. Fair enough. Let's print for 10 or suppose 25. It will give us 0. Most probably it will give us 0. Yeah. So this is what logistic regression is giving. Now what I have shown you is actually that it will not take much time to transit from one algorithm to another algorithm in machine learning. It took us 1 hour or more to discuss what is logistic regression, what is data, what is classification, but we just have shifted it in less than 2 minutes. Now which particular data type it is? 0 and 1? That is ordinal data type. Okay, because 0 and 1 are different classes but are relatable to each other. It is not simply dog and cat. They are like having a relation amongst them, that this is a kind of lower level people and these are upper level people comparatively. I'm not making any financial comment over anyone. Okay, so this is what this is how you can basically transit from logistic linear model to like regression to classification, or linear regression to logistic regression, and we can do the same thing for another model. So let's implement SVC. Don't focus on what is SVC. What I want to show is that in a span of single moment or so, we can shift from logistic regression to SVC, which is again a classification algorithm, support vector classifier. It gave us 0. It gave us, suppose I'll go for 115, it will give us 1. That is it. If I'll go for writing 100 as 2, so then it will be a third class, superior most people. So 115 would be 2 actually just now, right? So somewhat for 80 or 70 it will be or simply like 60, it will be 1. 20 and 30 would be 0, and similarly all of others. So you just need to make 2 changes, the import and the call of model, and that is all required in order to shift from one algorithm to another algorithm. That is it actually. So machine learning, I again say that it is not about code. Do not cram the code. Just cram the theory behind it. Just understand the theory behind it. And then the rest of the machine learning will just be not so much difficult to discuss about. Right? So it doesn't take much amount of time to discuss about logistic regression. And we have actually implemented a second algorithm, and that particular algorithm is for classification. What is this code doing? See, we have an X and Y with us. So X is basically the salary of people and Y is basically the class of people. So I have 3 classes, 0 class and 1 class and 2 class. Then the type of data I declared it as ordinal, nowhere in the code, but I just understood it. Now I know that this is a classification problem because it is an ordinal data. So then I went out for sklearn or linear model import logistic regression. I instantiated a model. I trained the model with model.fit, and once trained, I predicted for what will be the value of group of people for model.fit 60. If a person's salary is 60, does that person belongs to 0 class or 1 class or 2 class? That is what basically we have done right here. Okay, is that clear? Is that clear? Yeah. So enough of that. Again, let's come back to our basics of mathematics again, right, as of now. I want to give you an example. So what according to you right here will be taken care? Like what could be our evaluation pattern? That will be basically the accuracy. So suppose, can you show the formula of sigmoid? The formula of sigmoid is 1 upon 1. Okay, it'll take a lot of time. I'll just show you on Google. It's 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus x. Right here, or simply right here, you can see this formula. 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus x, which looks something like this on graph, this red line. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's make a plot. So I want to make, I have written all of this thing. Let's make a plot of entire of our stuff. Let's remove class number 2 and make it a binary classification stuff. Now what I want to do in order to make a plot is from matplotlib import pyplot as plt. I want to plot for plt dot plot plt dot scatter firstly x comma y, and then plt dot plot x comma y comma color is equals to r, not x comma y, x comma model dot predict x. I hope you are getting it what I am doing. This is the same we did in linear regression as well. Okay, sorry, I need to do it as PLT. Something wrong, I know what is wrong right here. The thing is, I haven't sorted it out. So what I need to do right here is sorted x. Let's make it right here itself. Or let's make a sorted list. You can do it anyhow, or your data would come sorted as well. Let's make a sorted list right here. 2050. Let's write 10 before that. So I'm making it 10, 20. We have something like 30, 10, 20, 30, 50, and then 47, 50, and 100. Okay, so 0. Okay, so you can see that this is something what resembling a sigmoid graph as well. So this is what basically it is going to predict, right? So this is what a resemblance of sigmoid graph as well look like. So this is this logistic regression is entirely built over sigmoid, because we are predicting a 2D stuff with no curves or so. It is giving us a straight line type of plot. But if we'll be going to plot 1 upon 1 plus e minus x, I can show you. Let's plot 1 upon 1 plus e minus x right here as well. So I have x value to be all of them. X stands for, okay, I need to go to create a lot of data and all. I don't want to get into that mess as of now. The entire graph is also available on Google, that for every value of x, the graph looks something like this: 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus x, which is having 0 as the median, the midmost point of that, vertically and horizontally. That is what it will be basically giving us. But for that, I need to create a lot of data on the Python code, and it will take a lot of trouble to get into this. Normal distribution and all we need to talk about. I hope it is clear. Now how to evaluate that? Again the same thing. Print model.score. What do we need to pass into score? X test and Y test. We do not have a test X test Y test, so we'll be just simply passing X and Y. So the score turn out to be right here. It's 100%, clearly 100% score, because we are actually giving no noise onto the data. And let's give some noise in the data. Let's turn this 30 to be 1, or let's turn this 20 to be 1, and let's see the score. The score turned out to be 66.66 because there are two noises in the data as of now. So how many points are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of 6, 4 points are correct, 2 points are not correct. So 66% data is correct. Right? 2/3 of the data, 4 out of 6. So 4 out of 6 is clearly 66.66. You can see this is what our accuracy coming to be. Right, so this is basically how does logistic regression works on the classification and on the ordinal and nominal data set, and you can take it for any classification oriented data. More on with the practice, you will keep on getting more and more and more idea of it. Now what does that model.score is doing? It is no more calculating RMSE or MSE or so. No, it is basically calculating the accuracy. And what is the formula for accuracy? Simple enough. Simple enough. I'll just ask you a few questions. Anyone who wants to volunteer? I need one volunteer. Anyone? Ashish, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
So I'll be asking you 5 questions and then we'll be basically looking. Okay, so you are not supposed to give always the right answer. Okay, let's make it a game. I am not testing your GK or so. Let's make it a simple game and you will be giving me some wrong answers and some right answers. So my first question to
Okay.
you is that where is Taj Mahal located? What is your answer for this?
Agra.
Okay, one. And then second is which team Adam Gilchrist played for?
Uh, Australia.
Australia. Okay, too. And you are not supposed to give all the answers to be right. Simply. So
Yep.
where is Eiffel Tower located?
Paris.
Paris, right? And okay, if you're seriously on GK, then which is the biggest, largest museum of world?
Which
Where is
is
the
the
largest museum of world?
Germany, maybe.
Germany, 4. Okay. And which team did Virat Kohli played for, or which team Virat Kohli play for as of now as well?
India.
India, right. So now what I can evaluate is that you gave actually 4 correct answers out of 5 because the largest museum is not in Germany, it is in Paris as far as I know. And I can just search for it. It's where the Mona Lisa was placed. Some glass building with pyramid shape also. Yeah, wherever. So this is the largest. It's in Paris as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's in most Western museum. It's in Paris. So you gave 4 out of 5 answers. So that basically turned out your score to be 80% or simply 0.8. Now how does the 0.8 turn out? It is simply nothing different than what is your answer. Okay, what is your answer and what is the actual y? So what is your y and what is the actual y? If you gave it correct, then you will get 1 point. If you give it wrong, then you will get 0 point, and it is simply a summation of all of that divided by number of questions. Okay, so you gave me 5 answers, out of which for 4 of them you earned 1 point, for 1 of them you earned 0 point. So your total score is basically 4, summation is 4 divided by 5, which turn out to be 0.8. Simple mathematics, nothing so complex. Now you can see that model.score has auto adjusted itself. Earlier it was giving us the MSE value, R2 R square value when we were talking about regression model. When we shifted to logistic regression, it gave us the accuracy itself. So model.score is an API available for all the models, but it works differently for all the different models or all the different approaches we talk about. Fair enough. So you know now that how does an accuracy be calculated. You can simply make your own model.score function. Okay, and how can you make that? Let's make our own model.score function. So we have this y to be 0, 1, 0. So we'll be creating a y pred as well. Y predicted is equals to model dot predict x. We'll be creating as y predicted. This is our sklearn value, and let's print on calculation. Okay, and this will I'll be printing as score. So let's make it. So what is score? What I need to do is for I in range length of y, what I need to do is if yi is equals to y pred I, this is score, this is count. Okay, if it is this, then score plus equals to 1, and whatever it is, count plus equals to 1 always at every loop. What is our score look like? S by C simply, and let's see. So sklearn's value 0.66, our value 0.66. I'll not be going for plotting anymore. Let's see if I'll turn it to 0 head. So both of the values should be 100%. So we can create our own score function by like not in more than 2 minutes. Simple enough. Enough of logistic regressions we talk about. Any doubt into this entire logistic regression pipeline? Any doubt? Okay, so now the next thing we'll be going to talk about is I want to give you an example. Suppose you are the owner of Walmart store, or you are the product manager of, or the store manager of Walmart, or store manager of Amazon or Flipkart. Okay, some senior most person, and I am a machine learning person. I have I am a basic freelancer who do some basic machine learning stuff. You came to me that Harsh, I want a machine learning algorithm that will basically give me the separation between Adidas shoes and Nike shoes. I have a lot of Adidas shoes, I have a lot of Nike shoes. What I want is I want a model which will be basically predicting me that this shoes is of Adidas and this shoes is of Nike. I don't want my labor to work on that on manual basis. Okay. Now what I did, I basically made you a function that whatever shoe value you pass, you will be getting print I just made you this, I just gave you this line. Okay, and I said you that this is a machine learning stuff. I just gave you something like print Adidas. Right. So now you went away on your store, you checked it on your entire data, entire amount of shoes. You passed on the value or the image of shoes, and the output was getting print Adidas. Now let's suppose you have 1 lakh shoes in your warehouse. Okay, 1 lakh shoes in your warehouse. Out of that 1 lakh, 99,000 shoes, just apart from this one, or more even smaller, 99,000 shoes are of Adidas and 1,000 shoes are of Nike. Now for your 99,000 shoes, my model worked perfectly well. Okay, so my model got a score of 99,000 correct answer and 1,000 incorrect answer. So incorrect answer means 0. So 99,001 plus 1k 0 over, what is the total amount? 100,000, 1 lakh. So what is this equation will be returning me? 99,000, this value will be vanishing to 0 itself, so it will become 99,000 by 100,000. So simply it will become 0.99 0.99. You agree to me on this? So now the 0.99 means 99% accuracy. So your model is giving 99% accuracy. But what your model is, print A without any sense. Even if for a human being it will say print Adidas. Like even if it is not a shoe, then even your model is saying Adidas. Your model doesn't make any sense. But your data was so much balanced that it is turning out to be 99% accurate. So that is where skewness comes into picture. That your data is so much skewed for Adidas and very less for Nike. Now for the skewed data, you cannot go for using accuracy or as your evaluation metric. You need to work on something named as confusion metrics. Okay, what is confusion metrics? I'll come up with. So as of now, I am clear with what is the problem using accuracy. What is so wrong with accuracy part? Anyone of you having any doubt that why not accuracy all the time? Because accuracy will lead some disastrous results when we'll be going to work with the skew data. Let's take the same example on terrorist. So let's take a precise count on how many terrorists are there. If we'll get some idea. 800 terrorist cell. So if suppose there are 800 terrorist cell and each one of them have 100 terrorists, so 800 into 100 will be 80,000. Okay, or let's take it one more, like 8 lakh. So now we have 8 lakh terrorists in India. I am just taking a random example. Now if I will predict every person as a non-terrorist, then how much will my data will be accurate? It will be giving me the problem on 8 lakh divided by how many lakhs? 13500. If suppose 135 is the population of India, 135 crore. Have I did something wrong? Okay, sorry, I took the precise number, so I need to go for 8 lakh divided by 135 lakh. Sorry, this many lakh is the population of India, 135 crores. So my model is wrong on this much only, and my model is right on 0.999994074 times. So that means out of 0.999999407 is my accuracy. That is so damn high. Whereas my model is actually doing nothing. It's just printing for whatever input come it will print, whatever input come it will print, right? And it is simply like we have built a calculator just like this. If you are aware of Python, I hope you are clearly aware of functions in Python. I'll just draw a basic function that, let's draw it right here. So you are saying def add x and y. Okay, you need to add x and y. So instead of returning x plus y, what you are returning? Return 5 plus 7. So whatever value of x and y will be, it will return you 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, so on. So if you are giving the value to be 5, 7, 7, 3, 2, 9, then 3, 9, then you are actually getting correct result, but rest of the time you are getting wrong result. So similarly right here, whatever value I'll give, my model is giving not terrorist, not terrorist, not terrorist, and then even it is 99.99999% accurate. So damn high accurate. So that clearly shows us that accuracy is not something to be talked about only when we are talking about unbalanced data. When we have balanced data, then accuracy is a good metric. But when we have unbalanced data, then accuracy is not something good to talk about. So for that, there is something known as confusion metrics. I want answers from all of you. Are you very clear with why not accuracy? I need answers from all of you. All of you. I got only 3 answers as of now. 4. Okay, all right, yeah, 5. So we are clear with why not accuracy. So So let's talk about what else. If not accuracy, then what else? So there is something known as confusion matrix. I'll draw it right here. So confusion matrix is basically a 2 by 2 metric for two classes. As of now we are having two classes, so Adidas and Nike. So confusion matrix would be a 2 by 2 metric. Okay, right here these are values which are truly Adidas, okay, and truly Nike. What does mean truly? That means the actual Y, and these are predicted Adidas. And predicted Nike. Okay, so truly Adidas there are 99,000, so this entire row should sum up to 99,000. Truly Nike are 1,000, that this entire row should sum up to 1,000. Now let's talk about how many truly Adidas were there and how many of them were actually predicted as Adidas. So out of all the 99,000 Adidas, everyone was predicted as Adidas only. So it turned out to be 99k. Okay, how many truly Adidas were there who have actually been predicted as Nike? Actually 0. So this turned out to be 0. So this row is perfect. Now how many truly Nike there who have been predicted as Nike? Actually 0. And how many truly Nike were there which has been predicted as Adidas? 1k. Now there we were getting the accuracy of 99%, so damn clear. But right now we can see that none of our value is actually getting Nike as a prediction. This column should not be 0. This column should have a value. Now what are the evaluation metric into this case? This point is known as true positive. This point is known as truly negative. This point is known as false negative. This point is known as false positive. So what do we want? Do you want more value right here and here and less value right here and here? That means which were truly Adidas and predicted as Adidas should be high. Truly Nike predicted as Nike should be high. Truly Adidas but predicted as Nike should be low, and truly Nike predicted as Adidas should also be low. So for that we'll be going to use some things, like one is known as precision, one is known as recall. So precision is basically true positive over true positive plus false positive. It is false positive, like if there is any problem. Okay, and there's one thing like recall, which is true positive over true positive plus false negative. And final thing is F1 score. So instead of earlier we were using R2 score in regression, in misclassified data we will be using something like F1 score, which is the harmonic mean of precision and recall. So what is harmonic mean? 2 multiply precision multiply recall divided by precision plus recall. So these are the three formulas being used in the case of confusion metric. And what does it mean? F1 score would be ranging from 0 to 1. So not just your accuracy, your F1 score should also be high. Then only your model is actually a good model. If your F1 score is coming up to be 0.1, 0.2, then your model is just overfitted on one part and not giving any value on another part, or misclassifying the another So we need to be very clear on these particular three formulas. Okay, so this is what basically confusion matrix look like. Fair enough. Any doubt into confusion metric? Any doubt into confusion metric? Anyone else having any doubt? Okay, so now your task is to basically work on all of that, understand all of that. In the next class, I would be going to introduce you with a project. We'll be starting with the project in the class, but rest of the project I'll give you to work from your home, to work on that project from your home, so that whenever you will be ready with your project, we can have an evaluation call, and that will be going to be your first project into this machine learning, right? So you need to practice for logistic regression, you need to practice for this confusion metric part, and we have talked about module number 5 today and module number 6 today. So we talked about what is the need of confusion metrics, what is precision, what is recall, what is F1 score. Practice them as much as you can. Go along with work on your code, work on sklearn, take some data, work on it, implement the dummy x and y's. And how many of you have info about pandas? How many of you know about pandas? What is pandas? How many of you have worked on pandas earlier? Just say me a yes or no right here. Okay, two of you. Okay, yeah, Ramjan, so it will be working. Like if you have worked on it once. So two of them have worked on pandas. Jaren, Nitika, Amar, have you worked on pandas earlier? Okay, so Jaren only haven't worked. Nitika? No. Okay. So don't worry, we'll be taking a basic intro of pandas as well, and then we'll be moving on to working with the project of machine learning. So our next class might be focusing only and only on project, and if the time allows, we'll be planning to go for further topics as well. Okay. Fair enough. So in the next class, we'll be going to talk about this module number 7, exploratory data analysis. Again, some things we need to talk about from statistics perspective. So we need to know about what is variance, what is low variance filter, high variance filter, no contribution filter, correlation, and all of that. And then we'll be discussing the project on the basis of this one and the existing stuff we have done. And then once we'll be clear with the project, into the next of that class, we'll be heading on to decision trees and all of that. So out of 12 modules, 12 compulsion modules, we have actually reached 6. So half of our machine learning is on the track. We need practice. We will be going on with the practice part, but good amount of topics we have actually covered, right? So I'll just share this code with you. Then see you in the next class. Take care. Bye bye. All of you take care. Bye bye. Yeah. Any doubt would be there, you can let me know and we can discuss about that. Surely. Yeah. Bye. Okay, all of you.